So I've been driving along on my travels with work, early evening. It's been a dull, horrible day, all day long. It's coming up to around about 7, 20 past 7, and I've gone past a field with cows. And look what company I've got. And the sun's just come out, and look at this sky. So I've got cows in the foreground, that sky in the background. I'm going to set the camera and see what we get. I've got these cows and that beautiful sunshine, so I'm just going to get set up and get some shots of this. I'm probably just a little bit too close now. I've got my 50mm lens on. You can see we've got this lovely, beautiful sun. We've got the cows. The only trouble is the cows are too close. I think the cows are a bit too close at the moment, but that is a beautiful shot. Back up, back up. Come on, back up. You're ruining my shot. Cows are ruining my shot. So I'm trying to shoo these guys away without scaring them too much, because I'm on their turf. They're not on mine, but they just keep coming. Look at that beautiful sky. It's got cows. Right, I'm just gonna have to go for this and see what I get, because I'm losing the light here. So let's get a shot. Just show you. Let's get a shot just there. Can't see the zebras on this monitor, so I'm gonna have to just check the blinkies. All right, we've got a bit of blinkies in the sky, so I'm gonna increase the shutter speed. Getting licked to death here. I'm at f8. Let's take a couple of those. See what we get on the monitor. So I've got blinkies in the shadows now, but that's okay on the raw. But that sun is washed out a little bit. Let's just see if I get up in the old gate. Just get a couple of shots there. Just review it in camera. Okay, that's absolutely awful. Get that sky in. I'm just going to get a few exposures at different levels. See what we get. Sun right in the middle, horizon on the middle. Okay, I'm blowing out the sky a little bit, so let's put the shutter speed up just a little bit. It's not really the shot I wanted with all these cows in the foreground, but see if we can do something in post. I'm just going to stick around a little bit till they get bored of me, and see if I can get a better shot, or maybe head down the lane a little bit. See, I can't get a shot of the field because I've got too many cows curious, but what I've done is taken control of the situation a little bit by coming over the other side of the country lane. We've got this nice scene where they're actually at the gate, and maybe the sun behind them. I won't be able to get the field, but this might make for a good shot. So let me just show you. If I just come round, we have the cows there. Let's put the shutter speed up a bit so we can see what we're doing. Just going to come up the lane a tiny bit more, and then just get that sunlight coming through. And just got them framed. I'm going to come down maybe a little bit. Because I'm showing you on the monitor, I can't see my zebras. Let's just review that. Okay, got the sun bleached out just a little bit. And then I'm just going to work the scene. Try not to get run over. Just see if we can get that sky. See if we can get their attention a little bit more. They've buggered off now. Oh, the irony. And I don't want them to be there, they're there. When I want them to be with their heads through the fence, they're not cooperating. Let's try and get another one. Just there. Let's get that sun centre above them. Let's get a shot with the face onto the gate. The sky's not as interesting here. Just like that. Just check how many blinkies I've got in the dark areas. All right, so we can afford to go shutter speed on this one because there's not harsh light now in the sky. It's kind of lost the sun now a little bit, but let's see what we can do with it in post. Right now, put my 18mm to 105mm lens on. Let me just see if I can squeeze that through there. Got a couple more cows interested in me here. Cow centipede. That looks a bit odd. Oh, something interesting there. So the photo I've decided to show you how to edit in Lightroom is kind of a best of both worlds from the scene out in the field. Didn't quite get that beautiful skyscape and I didn't quite get good photos of the cows, but I kind of got a balance between the two. So let's edit it and see how we get on. So the first thing I'm going to do with this photo is it doesn't look great, it looks a bit dark, but I'm going to just pop the profile to Adobe Standard. Then I'm going to put the exposure up by about 1.7 of a stop, and I'm going to bring the shadows out. Probably bring the shadows all the way up, to be honest, and there we can see the scene looks a lot better. So before I start doing any colour or editing to it, I'm just going to get a good composure. So I think we'll go 16:9. Actual fact, I think we might actually go custom and just bring the photo in so that we get rid of this kind of leaves on the extreme of the frame. Sometimes things right on the edge of the frame don't work. I'm going to get as much of that skying as possible, so just bring it over slightly, give the cows a bit of headroom, and then just bring it in just so I've got a bit of foreground here with this bush. Now I'm just going to check how far away this is from 16:9. Okay, it was close, so let's go for 16:9 because sometimes I do like to have a set ratio, and 16:9, as you know, is your laptop or your TV screen. And then what I'm going to do next is go back and just give this a bit of colour tweak. Let's just actually go make sure we've got this cow in about there. And in actual fact, I'm going to go custom and then just bring this in so we've got a bit more headroom. We're not on an actual aspect ratio now, but that I want to get a bit of grass and a bit of sky, and there we go. So if I go back now, I think with the highlights I'm just going to pop these down just to preserve that area in the sky. So let's go about -78. So we've brought the shadows up, we've put the highlights down. You can see a lot more detail in the sky now. So then with the whites, I'm just going to bring them up, just to bring some of the whites out on the cow's fur, just to about there. And then just to give it a bit more contrast, I'm going to bring the blacks down just to about -11. Now, sometimes when I'm outdoors and you've got a bit of daylight, green to me sometimes looks a bit too green. So I'm going to go down to the colour mixer and just pop my green down to around about -58. And then it looks a bit cold, so I'm not going to adjust the colour temperature. I'm just going to see if I can bring out overall a bit of yellow. Let's pop this up to about 75, just because, you know, with the sun and that, the time in the evening that it was, this is going to start turning golden. So I want to reflect some of the light we've got in the green and on the cows and in the sky. I want to get some of that golden yellow out. I could even bring up the orange to about there, And remember, this is very subtle and you can play with this till your heart's content. Now I am just going to give it a bit of a vignette because I want the viewer's eyes to be focused right down into the middle where the majority of our subject is. We're not too concerned about the outside areas of the frame. So I'm just going to come down to vignette and then pop this down to about there. You can come back and adjust it if it's not quite right. And then the sharpening, I am actually going to bring the sharpening quite a way up. I don't know if you can see the difference, but I just want to bring out as much detail as possible. And then to be fair, I'm kind of happy with that. I'm not going to play with it too much, and that can be the danger sometimes, is that you can over-edit your photos. But what I am going to do is try and bring out some of the details in these corners and in the sky. So I'm going to go to my masking tool, and I just want to lighten this fence post up a bit. So I'm going to grab a linear gradient, just drag it over like that. And then the only thing I'm going to do is just bring the exposure up ever so slightly to about there. And I think this bush, it's too much in shadow. This dark areas look a bit out of place. So I'm going to create a new mask, linear gradient again, drag it over the bush, make it so it's got a nice subtle roll off on it. And then I'm just going to pop the exposure up, just shy of 2 stops. And then I think I'll bring the temperature up because we've got this golden light coming through. So let's just give it a bit more yellow. And then I'm just going to pop the texture down ever so slightly because it's in the foreground a little bit, just to bring the focus off it ever so slightly. And then maybe just a bit of clarity. Hasn't made much of a difference, only very subtle. And then I think the last thing we'll do, apart from the sky, is just do the ground here. So again, nice and simple. Another linear gradient, make it quite broad. And this one, I'm just going to put the exposure up. Because we've got the light coming from behind the cows, I almost want these to be kind of subsurface scattered with light or kind of translucent. So with this, I'm going to bring the exposure up, just because we want to get that light coming from behind through the scene, through these grass even. And then I am just going to bring the whites out a little bit. The temperature I'm going to bring up slightly, just there. Let's just see if we can raise it up a little bit. Maybe bring the exposure down ever so slightly. And then I'm just going to bring again the texture down, just to take the eye off it, and the clarity will leave where it is. Maybe that's a bit too yellow. We can always trim it back. Let me just move the gradient a little bit. Maybe the exposure now is a bit too high. Let's just bring the exposure down slightly. And a little bit of black to give it a slight contrast. Okay, I'm not going to mess about with that too much now. And then I'm going to add one more linear gradient on the sky, about there. And all I'm going to do in this one is bring the texture down, just to roll those clouds off and push them back into the distance a little bit. If I bring the clarity down, it doesn't change much, it just gets rid of that slight darkness at the top. I'm going to leave that about there. Let's just bring the highlights down again to bring out that dramatic sky. And then maybe the shadowy dark areas just up subtly so it's not too overbearing at the top. See what the exposure does now. Okay, so that's nice and subtle. Let's bring the highlights down just ever so slightly. And then all I'm going to do is bring the viewer's eye into the middle of the frame again. And I guess I'm kind of happy with that. It doesn't look like a snap anymore. It looks a bit more painterly, like a painting. One very last thing to do though is I've just got these branches and leaves in the top left hand corner, which is a bit distracting, so I'm going to get rid of those. If I go to the healing tool and then with the healing selected, I'm just going to airbrush over those leaves and branches there, and then it will select a spot automatically for me, but I'm not quite happy with that, so I'm just going to move it just so it kind of makes sense. Let's say about there. And sometimes don't look at it in too much detail because nobody's going to be scrutinizing that top left hand corner of your photo. So if we go back to the adjustments tab, you can clearly see that that just looks fine. Nobody would ever know that there were leaves and branches there. Also, if we look, we have got a bit of noise in the actual subject of the photo. The sky's not too bad because obviously we load the texture down on that. And that's fine, that would look good as a photo, give it a bit of natural grain to it. But if you wanted to get rid of that and denoise it, all we would do is just go down on the main adjustment tab to noise reduction. And then it will give us a preview just with the denoise. So let's just see what Mrs. Cow looks like here with the noise taken off her. Okay, let's just see what happens when we calculate that. If it makes the photo look a bit too sharp and we've lost some of our details, then we'll just undo it. To be fair, I think that's kind of made some of the hair on the cows a bit sharper. Let's just view it full screen. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. That looks great. I'm going to leave that. Come back to it tomorrow. If I'm still happy with it, then it looks good and that's job done. If it needs tweaking, I can always tweak it, but the most important thing is just not to over edit your photos.